Have you ever wondered if the world around us is playing out a story written long ago? A story of power, deception, and a final, crucial choice for every person on this planet. Today, we're going to journey through a prophecy that some believe explains America's past, its present, and its startling future. Imagine a new nation, born from the desire for freedom, a land where people could worship according to their conscience, without a king or a pope telling them what to believe. The early United States seemed to fit this description perfectly, with its principles of civil and religious liberty. It was like a young, gentle creature, different from the oppressive powers that had dominated the old world. This nation rose up, not by conquering others, but by offering a haven. It grew strong under principles of peace and innocence. This represented a government without a crown and a church without a pope, a place where republicanism and a pure or simple faith could flourish. It seemed like a land shielded by a higher power, a beacon of hope for the world. But prophecies often have a twist. A subtle change begins to occur. The gentle voice starts to change, taking on a different tone. It starts speaking with the authority of a dragon. How does a nation speak? Through its laws. A shift happens when human legislation begins to contradict divine law. When the principles of freedom that once defined the nation are set aside for the sake of forced conformity. We see this today as societal values drift further from their original foundations. What was once clear becomes blurred. The lines between right and wrong, between sacred and common, are redrawn by human hands. This change isn't loud and sudden. It's a gradual, quiet shift, happening right before our eyes, as the voice of the dragon begins to echo through the halls of power. Now, let us look closer at a specific movement gaining quiet momentum: the push for a national Sunday law. On the surface, it's presented as a solution for society's problems, a way to promote family values, rest, and public morality. It sounds good, right? A day of rest for everyone. But prophecy warns us to look deeper, to see the hidden force behind this push. This movement seeks to enforce the observance of a day that was never commanded in the original scriptures. While it appears to be a religious and moral effort, it's seen by some as a masterful deception. The goal is to elevate a human tradition above a divine commandment. And standing against this popular tide is a small but faithful group of people. Those who hold to all the commandments, including the one that many have forgotten. They are the commandment keepers, standing firm against a world that is slowly being lulled into compromise. This is where the story escalates into what prophecy calls the Great Crisis. The lines are drawn. We begin to see an astonishing union form: religious powers joining hands with secular governments. The very separation of church and state that was a cornerstone of the nation's founding begins to crumble. Religious leaders will gain influence over lawmakers, urging them to enforce religious edicts through civil law. And what is the first major step? The enforcement of Sunday observance. This act becomes a tribute to a power that has historically set itself against God. The prophecy identifies this as the resurgence of the man of sin, a system of false worship that once persecuted dissenters. History, it seems, is about to repeat itself. Persecution, once thought to be a relic of the Dark Ages, will be rekindled against those who refuse to comply, those who choose to obey God rather than men. To make this global deception convincing, there will be displays of supernatural power. Imagine miracles, signs, and wonders happening all around us. Healings that seem genuine, spiritual manifestations that appear divine. The prophecy warns that a great deceiver will even mimic the appearance of a being of light, speaking words of beauty and peace, while subtly undermining the truth. He will perform miracles in the sight of men, calling down fire from the sky, seemingly validating his authority. He will present what are called pleasant pictures and compelling deceptions, so powerful that, if it were possible, they would deceive even the very elect, those who are most sincere in their faith. This is why it's so crucial to be grounded in the written word, not in what we see or feel, because our senses will be targeted by a grand illusion. This all leads to the final test. The enforcement of Sunday observance by law creates what the prophecy calls the image to the beast. It's an image, or a likeness, of the church-state power of old, where the government is used to enforce the church's doctrines. When the United States, the nation founded on liberty, forms this image, it will be a pivotal moment. The world will then be faced with a choice. It won't be a choice made with guns or swords, but a choice of allegiance. Will you receive the mark of the beast, which is the acceptance of this false Sabbath, a mark of apostasy and loyalty to a human-made authority? Or will you choose the seal of God, a sign of loyalty to the Creator, symbolized by keeping His holy seventh-day Sabbath as an eternal memorial of His creation? This will be the great dividing line, separating the entire world into two classes. Your choice will determine your ultimate destiny. The prophecy ends with a solemn warning and a glorious hope. A nation that so completely turns its back on the principles of justice and righteousness, that chooses to enforce a law in direct opposition to God's law, invites its own downfall. National apostasy leads to national ruin. The very systems that were meant to protect will become instruments of oppression. But in the midst of this darkness, there is a beacon of light. God's people, though they may be a minority, though they may face persecution and be accounted as outcasts, will not be alone. They stand under the banner of their Creator. They have placed their trust not in human governments or deceptive miracles, but in the unshakable promises of God. They are sealed, protected, and waiting for their King to intervene and bring an end to the reign of sin and sorrow. Their hope is not in this world, but in the new world to come. This journey through prophecy can be intense, but it's not meant to scare us. It's meant to prepare us. It's a call to examine what we believe and why we believe it. It urges us to build our faith on a solid foundation that cannot be shaken by popular opinion or powerful deceptions. The story isn't over yet, and we are all living in its pages. The choice is yours. Thank you for watching. If this has sparked your interest, be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into these vital topics.